Vous êtes ici aujourd'hui, je suppose que c'est parce que vous êtes familier avec les combats et les engagements de Cornel West pour la justice, l'égalité et la protection aussi des gens les plus vulnérables. Donc nous allons rentrer dans le vif du sujet. Le thème de l'exposition qui a lieu en ce moment au Quai Branly, c'est The Color Line. Donc quand on parle de Color Line, on parle de ségrégation et de discrimination. Le livre de M. Mahmadoou Sagna s'appelle Violence, racisme et religion en Amérique, Cornel West, une pensée rebelle. Donc ce qui est intéressant pour nous aujourd'hui, c'est aussi de faire le lien entre le côté historique et ce qui se passe encore aujourd'hui aux États-Unis, mais aussi évidemment en France, puisque nous sommes en France. Et nous n'avons pas besoin d'aller chercher très loin pour être confrontés à ces questions. Ce sont des questions qui sont très sensibles ici, évidemment. Malheureusement, une partie de la classe politique reprend ces questions, essaye de s'accaparer du discours sur ces questions et de les manipuler. Par exemple, on a tous entendu parler de ces hommes politiques qui nous disent que pour être un vrai Français ou un bon Français, il faudrait oublier d'où on vient. Malheureusement, on a entendu parler de nos ancêtres les Gaulois, si vous voyez ce que je veux dire. Mais c'est juste un exemple parmi beaucoup d'autres de responsables politiques, ou je devrais dire peut-être d'irresponsables politiques, parce que c'est assez irresponsable, et des intellectuels comme M. Cornel West et M. Sagna présentent une analyse brillante de ces questions-là. Si on parle de racisme et de violence aux États-Unis, évidemment on pense aussi aux violences policières, mais là aussi on peut faire le rapprochement avec ce qui se passe en France. Les médias n'en parlent quasiment pas, les grands médias en tout cas, on croirait que ces questions-là n'existent pas en France, mais évidemment elles existent dans le quotidien de beaucoup de personnes, et en particulier dans certains quartiers. Et puis si on dit Black Lives Matter, évidemment on pense aussi à la situation actuelle avec les migrants. Pas très loin d'ici, il y a des gens qui sont dans la rue. Donc forcément, si on parle de questions de violence et de racisme, on pense aussi à ces questions-là, et toutes ces questions sont liées finalement, puisque les gens qui sont vulnérables ou qui sont dans la rue sont aussi confrontés ici en France aux violences policières. Et évidemment, toutes ces questions rejoignent aussi les questions d'impérialisme, tout simplement, des grandes puissances européennes. Et ça tombe bien parce que cette question d'impérialisme est une question centrale dans le travail de messieurs Cornel West et monsieur Mahmadoou Sagna. Donc on va rentrer dans le vif du sujet. Lamine, vous aviez une comédienne qui devait nous faire une lecture. Est-ce qu'elle est ici avec nous? Sarah Bourg. Bon, dans ce cas, on va faire ça tout à l'heure. Nous allons prendre des questions du public, donc vos questions, après les interventions de Cornel West et de Lamine Sagna. Donc voilà, merci encore d'être venus. Nous remercions le Quai Branly de nous accueillir. Mesdames Mercier et son équipe de nous accueillir dans cette salle. Et donc, si Sarah Bourg n'est pas là, nous allons donner la parole à M. Mahmadoou Sagna qui va nous parler de toutes ces questions et évidemment de son livre passionnant, Violence, racisme et religion en Amérique, Cornel West, une pensée rebelle. Merci.
Je remercie Lou, vraiment du fond du cœur. Lou, c'est un jeune qui essaie en tout cas d'organiser la jeunesse, puisque c'est l'un des fondateurs, en tout cas l'un des managers de Afropunk. Je ne sais pas si vous êtes au courant, mais Afropunk est une organisation qui mobilise énormément de jeunes noirs aux États-Unis et en Europe. Ils font des festivals ici de temps en temps chaque année.
Let me first say that I am blessed to be in this space with my dear brother Lamine. I salute each and every one of you for being here, because I'm here to learn and listen as well as to present. Those who facilitated this magnificent exhibition here in this space, my jazz sister and my jazz brother. I come from a tradition that says the Spirit will not descend without song. That for me is very important, because I am who I am because somebody loved me, somebody cared for me, somebody attended to me. The highest honor I will ever receive has nothing to do with Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or Paris. It has to do with being the second son of the late Clifton West and the present Irene B. West, my mama and my father. That I am a product of the chocolate side of Sacramento, California. Black and brown folk, Shiloh Baptist Church, the Black Panther Party, a variety of freedom fighters who are committed to revolutionary love. That I know this exhibition is about segregation. But segregation is a deodorized category. I like to keep it funky. And we're talking about terrorism. But I come from a people who've been terrorized for 400 years. Traumatized for 400 years. Stigmatized for 400 years. Hated people, not just in the American Empire and the USA, but in the Caribbean, in Africa, all around the world. But my tradition among these people is that in the face of so much hatred, we've taught the word so much about love. I could just turn on John Coltrane's Love Supreme right now. You see that? I could read an essay by James Baldwin, Love-Soaked Essays. Love forces us to take off the mask we know we could not live within, but fear we cannot live without. That's James Baldwin, right here in Paris. But he's the same tradition that I come from. He's just from Harlem, and I'm from California. Toni Morrison, Beloved. There's never been a character on the modern stage full of more love than Mama in Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. And I could go on and on. Stevie Wonder, Love Anita, Love Nina Simone, Mississippi Goddamn. It could be Donny Hathaway. It could be Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and the greatest of them all, Sarah Vaughan, the divine one. Love for me is the starting point. And what I love about this magnificent text is my dear brother, who I met now almost 10 years ago. We have taught together at Princeton for about 8 years. That he was kind enough to write a text that engages me at that level. Because yes, I teach in the academy, but I'm not first and foremost an academician. I'm a blues man in the life of the mind. I'm a jazz man in the world of ideas. And blues is about what? How you deal with catastrophe. B.B. King says, nobody loves me but my mama, and she might be jiving too. That's catastrophe, like Sophocles' Antigone. Every force in the world is against you, and yet somehow you straighten your back up with dignity and unbelievable fortitude. And speak your truth. And the condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak. Dear Brother Lou understands that. He's Afro-punk. That's just a moment, a great moment in the same tradition. How do you affirm your humanity in such a way that it begins with a revolutionary love, and justice is what love looks like in public? So when you spill over into the public sphere, you let the world know like Malcolm X, like Fannie Lou Hamer, like Ella Baker, like these brothers with this sign, I am a man, like the sisters in the black womanist movement and the black feminist movement, all of those who come from what Franz Fanon called the wretched of the earth, straighten their backs up and say, we will speak the truth, and the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. So you always begin with those homeless, poor children, the elderly, those in prison, working people, gay brothers, lesbian sisters, those folk, in the language of Malcolm X, catching hell. They are the primary point of reference to understand anything about our society and the world. And I would say that's also true in terms of our lives. That if we don't allow the suffering to speak in our lives, we probably live in a lie. We're wearing a mask. We have not yet mustered the courage to examine who we really are. A blues woman, a blues man is on intimate terms with death. And that's the fundamental line between serious, engaged thought and superficial, sentimental thought. Are you on intimate terms with death? Now, as a black man in America, 244 years of social death, slavery, civic death, Jim Crow, Jane Crow, segregation. Nothing but another moment of American terrorism, the lynching and so forth. Psychic death. Think less of yourself. Think you're less beautiful, less intelligent. White supremacist lies told about black people. And then spiritual death, in which you just cave in, you give up, or these days, given the market society, you sell your soul for a mess of pottage. Because in a capitalist society, everybody's for sale, no matter what color you are. And everything is for sale because it's all about profit. Big banks, big corporations, 1%, wealth inequality, income inequality, and so forth. But it's an existential issue. What I love about my brother's text is wrestling with my own very fallible, finite thought, because I'm nowhere near the truth, capital T. I'm just in quest of the truth, capital T. And we get it by means of conversation. And this is a magnificent engagement, critical engagement. It constitutes a conversation about the ways in which a tradition, a people, a blues people, a jazz people, try to make sense of the world connected with love, connected with justice. Now, I should also say that anytime you're talking about trying to be a blues woman or a blues man, it's about finding your voice. One of the reasons why I spend so much time with young brothers and sisters is that they're living in a hyper-capitalist culture that puts a premium on a joyless quest for pleasure. It's obsessed with the next stimulation and titillation, but soul stirring, like Sam Cooke and Johnny Taylor, Lou Rawls, called the soul stirrers. That's the fundamental difference between the greatest entertainer of our day, Beyonce, versus Aretha Franklin. I have great respect for Beyonce. She controls her body, she controls her money, she probably controls Jay-Z too.
Jay-Z came to your class, you remember?
Oh yes, right. We had Jay-Z in our class. I bet we read Plato that week. Well, we had Jay-Z here, we had Toni Morrison here, we had Felicia Rashad. You remember that? You sitting right next to me. We had it. That was. I forgot about that. That was before he was married to Beyonce, though. Yeah. That's true. But I have great respect. But Beyonce is a great entertainer in the culture of superficial spectacle. Whereas Aretha Franklin is a soul stirrer. She doesn't need spectacle. All she needs is a microphone, her voice, and a piano. and she will touch every nook and cranny in the dark corner of your soul because she has mastered her craft and she's offering up her big soul to other persons to empower them, not to stimulate their bodies. I go to a Beyonce concert. I haven't been to one, but my daughter's been to one. I'm sure I'm a Christian but not a Puritan. I take a look, check things out, you know, she's shaking her thing. That's all right. But with Aretha, she's at the lower frequencies of the soul. And she's allowing a rich tradition to go through her, the way Kendrick Lamar allows a tradition to go through him, like at the Grammys with the chains. Walking up to the microphone, it wasn't just Kendrick Lamar. It was who he was named after, Eddie Kendrick, falsetto of the Temptation. It's Donny Hathaway, dead at 34, but singing songs that the world will listen to until the planet collapses or hits the next comet. Or it's Miles Davis's horn, or it's Carmen McRae's voice, that tradition, allowing that tradition to come through us. It's kenosis, it's a self-emptying. It's a master of craft and technique, but allowing the greatness of a tradition to come through you, the way Chekhov tried to allow Shakespeare to come through him. That's what it is to be a freedom fighter at the deepest level. It is a magnificent tradition, and my brother captures this tradition. The sad thing is that that tradition that I'm talking about is weaker and more feeble today, especially in the American empire. The obsession in the American empire among all people of all colors, including black people, is spectacle, image, success, money, status. So you end up with a whole generation of black peacocks. Look at me, I'm so smart, I'm so successful, I'm doing so well, I got so much money. And my tradition says, peacocks strut because they can't fly. My tradition is about eagles, it's not about peacocks. It's about spiritual nobility, moral royalty, tell the truth, bear witness, take a risk. Be willing to pay a cost. Even be willing to die for a truth that you got from your grandmama, as well as Fannie Lou Hamer. That's spiritual. That's existential. That's in an Aretha Franklin song. That's what the music is, what y'all were singing, what you were playing. The Oscar Peterson in your playing. The Art Tatum in your playing. The McCoy Tyner in your playing. That's not just entertainment. That's a soul bearing that takes a variety of different forms. This was sonic, this is musical, it could be philosophical. If you're religious like Malcolm and revolutionary Muslim, it could be theological. It could be deeply secular like James Baldwin, agnostic. No one tradition has a monopoly on that undeniable commitment to a true small t and a justice small j. And there's no accident that our young people, that's what's so magnificent in this day. I'm so glad I lived to see it. So when you're a black man in America telling the truth about white supremacy, male supremacy, capitalism, and empire, you know you're not going to live that long. That's a given. Death threats for the last 30-something years, that's all right. But what is happening now is the movement for Black Lives Matter. There's an awakening taking place. There's a shattering of conformity, a shattering of complacency, a shattering of cowardliness, a shattering of the cult of success that's individualistic rather than the attempt to be great in terms of the quality of service to the least of these. There's old Sly Stone, who used to play piano in my church every fifth Sunday. We knew him as Sylvester, but his name is Sly Stone. He's like James Brown. That brother created a fissure in American culture in terms of the freedom, the openness, the ability to pull from a variety of different traditions. To have a white brother playing the drums. That's a revolutionary act in black music. The Jerry could play some drums in the slide with Family Stone. And to have a woman playing the trumpet from Sacramento. I know, brother, I've got Brother Watts. Where's Brother Watts? Wait, no, brother. We grew up in the same neighborhood. His beloved sister was my dear sister. You see, did I take her to the...
I believe you took her to the junior prom.
I took her to the junior prom. Oh, Ethel.
And I know your mama.
And, oh, you know the mama I'm talking about. You know how great she is. I know your mama. Oh, I know how great she is. We talk about two deep sisters here. Absolutely. But I say that to say that just in our short lives, can we try to enact and embody the best that has been passed on to us in a moment in which commodification is ubiquitous, in a moment in which people are turning their backs too often on poor people. See, in America these days, when you talk about black people, you're either only talking about the highly successful ones, be it in the White House or at Harvard or at Yale, and yet 44% of black children in America under 6 years old live in utter poverty. For me, that's a crime against humanity. Michelle Obama in a speech the other day, she said, I can't believe I wake up in a White House built by slaves. I said, not just slaves, but black slaves. And now my children are in that house. I said, that's a beautiful thing. I don't believe in denying the success. I believe in using the success for something bigger than you. But what she didn't go on to say is that almost 1 out of 2 of the children who are descendants of the slaves who built that White House are still living in shacks right now in the United States. Don't try out your black bourgeoisie and not say nothing about precious black poor people, working poor, or black working people. Don't allow black success to hide and conceal the misery that's still operating and so vastly distributed in the United States. And I begin on the chocolate side of town, but of course my love spills over. Vanilla, brothers and sisters. Red, yellow, brown. Brothers and sisters in China, in Tibet. Palestinians under Israeli occupation, poor Jews in Tel Aviv. It could be those in Ethiopia, it could be those in Ghana. It is international in scope, but it begins local. The R-O-O-T-S, the roots that you have, and the strength of those roots allows you to project with the R-O-U-T-E-S, the routes that you take, that take you to every corner of the globe, but you do it with a quest for integrity, for honesty, for decency, and most importantly, courage. Most importantly, courage. And I know I'm describing so many of you in this room part of the same tradition, in light of your own formation, in light of your own cultivation of self, in light of your own maturation of your soul. But I'm just very blessed to be here, and I want to thank my translator, my dear sister, who's been so very, very kind for you being me, and Leslie. It's a beautiful thing.
Madam Lillian Costello is the one that we're talking about who was a transplant.
Oh, who is that?
He's right here.
Oh my God! Let's give it up for our dear sister. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Yes, he's known as one of the great giants. And he's not just a revolutionary in the abstract. He comes from a revolutionary love, a radical humanism to keep track of the humanity of everybody across various color lines, various national lines, and so forth. And what a price he paid. My God, that truth-telling that he engaged in. And we shall never ever forget him, as we'll never ever forget the Richard Wrights who was here, the Chester Himes who were here, and Josephine Bakers who were here, and so many others. But let me stop now and open it up for questions. So thank you all for putting
We need music for the spirit to descend amongst us. And this is a tradition that goes way back. And insight into how that works goes way back. And I'm Haitian. This is how Haiti got free, Wakanda. And you know, I've heard you reference Haiti's struggle and stand by Haiti. Thank you for that too, by the way. Right? But I wanted to ask, when I think even back to some of our first 20th century progressive intellectuals, Many of them came out of Black Greek tradition. After that, there's other manifestations of, esoteric grouping, whether it be the Panthers themselves or the Black Muslims or various permutations of the parallel Muslim movement we have in America. And I'm wondering, very simply, since we are such a spiritual people, and we're talking right now about spiritual values, we talk about this materialism, this really is the end of the American soul, but we're particularly susceptible to it. I mean, it's funny when I hear you talking about this a very Christian challenge to love, that James Baldwin's whole work is about. It's almost as though we have to pay the goods that the Republic ordered. It's like, how come we have to do that more than other people? That aside, it's a quest that goes beyond Christianity, beyond America, so there's no point in questioning any particular tradition in which the challenge of love is embarked upon. But my question is, what could be the role of secret societies amongst the youth? Given when I think about how hip-hop, people forget that there's a major, I grew up in New York City, there's a major gang problem when I was a kid. People think that there's no gangs there. There's a major gang problem, and hip-hop was the result of how those brothers figured it out amongst themselves. And the same thing happened in, you're from California, same thing happened in Watford that presaged the Panthers, eventually perhaps the US organization. There was a gang thing, and brothers got together after that riot. Now after that, in all those various movements, there's been moments where division sets in, sometimes invited from outside or funded from outside. But it's the division that kills us. So I think it's great to be embarking on love for our, other people in the country. Right? Even I dare say the slogan "Black Lives Matters," I would never have to tell you that. I need to show you that, but I wouldn't have to plead that to you. If I'm saying Black Lives Matter, we late in the game.
That's true.
So I'm feeling like you and me need to get together and figure out how we're going to share some money. We're going to write a book together, share some money with that book. And in our free time, we're going to go into that prison and teach some brothers how to write some book. Things like that. That if we talk about it in public, why can't I go? And it's like the whole thing gets distracted. What about the role of secret societies, which is a tradition in traditional Africa? You don't come of age without having to deal with the fact that there's things you don't know yet, and you got to trust some people to find out about it, to connect yourself with the mystery and the fragility of life. Do you understand my question?
Oh, indeed. No, I did not.
Thank you for taking my question.
Good to see you. Good to see you. We won't go on too long, but I do think that your connection between the secret societies, and people call them gangs, but they're really various kinds of gatherings so people have a sense of belonging, a context in which they can be recognized and affirmed. And that's what we all want as human beings in the face of bodily extinction, in the face of death, physical death. We all want some affirmation, recognition, some love, some sense of having significance in the time that we transpired in time and space. And gatherings do that. Now some are secret because they have to go underground, but the challenge of every secret society is not to be parochial and provincial. If you're secret but you still are narrow in the horizons of your vision, then you're not accenting the best of the tradition that's been bequeathed to you. You got a secret society playing the piano and never heard of Art Tatum in jazz. You've got to grow up. That's the highest level. Is that right, my brother? He's a piano player. He understands. He understands. I just was reading the autobiography of Maurice White, who just died, Earth, Wind, and Fire. He was a drummer. He played the drums on Billy Stewart's I Do Love You. Billy Stewart sitting in the park. He played the drums with Maiden Voyage, Ramsey Lewis, before he founded Earth, Wind, and Fire. But if he had been secretive, which is fine, he still had to be cosmopolitan. He had to be international. You got to be global, because to be a jazz person and a blues person is to what? Be able to find your voice in such a way that you're bouncing up against the voices of the dead and the present. Like Fanon bouncing up against Merleau-Ponty. Fanon bouncing up against Marx and others, trying to make sense of those who were wrestling with these kinds of questions. And so I think it's no accident. The righteous teachers coming out of Trenton, they try to defy percenters. Certain kind of secretive society. That's played a very, very important role in the 70s and 80s in the formation of young people, you see. And the question is, how do you continue to grow? How do you continue to mature? How do you continue to embrace the best? We have to be improvisational. That's at the center of jazz, right? Improvisation, swing, and the blues. All three constitute jazz. And what does it mean to be improvisational? You're not dogmatic. You're not narrow. You're open to a variety of different insights from a variety of different contexts, perspectives, traditions, and so forth. You got to be flexible. You got to be fluid. And that's very difficult these days. Everybody wants real tight certainty rather than flexible integrity. Big difference. Very big difference. So, I mean, this is a tough question. We could have a long seminar on your wonderful question, my brother. But I appreciate it. I saw another hand. Yes, my brother.
Thank you.
No, I think, Brother Luke.
Yeah.
What I want to do? Is that all right? I'm going to follow your instructions. All right. Appreciate both of those questions. First question, I alluded to it in terms of my parents. And my pastor, Willie P. Cook, Shiloh Baptist Church. It was down the street from the Black Panther Party. I never joined the Black Panther Party, but I was deeply influenced. I worked in the prison program. I taught in the breakfast program. I've taught in prisons now for 37 years. I just finished my class at Broadway. When I started teaching in prisons, we had 300,000 prisoners. Now in America, you got 2.4 million prisoners. So you've seen the mass incarceration, the hyper-incarceration that's taking place, especially targeting young, black, and brown poor. There's some white poor as well. Every human being is a human being. But it's disproportionately chocolate. Disproportionately. And I learned and I'm inspired by them, as I was mom, church, school, and so forth. In terms of white supremacy, by white supremacy, all I'm talking about is a lie. It's a particular lie, but it's been institutionalized, so it's alive. It's a lie that's alive. It's been institutionalized, legalized in every institution in the modern world. Churches, mosques, synagogues, journalism, academy, across the board. You can't understand modernity without understanding this particular lie and this connection to capitalism, imperialism, patriarchy, homophobia, losing sight of the humanity, disabled, and so forth and so on. So that's the reason why I still use that term. A lot of people in America use deodorized terms like race. So for example, somebody would come on TV and say, oh, Toni Morrison just wrote a novel, it's about race. But Philip Roth wrote a novel, it's about humanity. That's white supremacy. With white brothers and sisters, it's about the human condition. It was about black people, it's about race. So you got to keep it funky and say, quit lying about this lie. That's still a lie. That's the reason why I use it. But you're absolutely right in terms of the ways in which the strength, the resilience of people, be they indigenous peoples or Latinos or Asians as well as black people. There's been a human struggle against structures of domination and structures of evil, because that's what I think white supremacy is. I think it's a vicious evil.
Ok, je vais traduire brièvement parce qu'il y a des gens qui me signalent qu'ils préfèrent avoir une petite traduction, ou plutôt un résumé parce que je ne pourrais pas. Voilà. Donc là, il était question du taux d'incarcération, en particulier des Noirs pauvres aux États-Unis, qui sont affectés de manière disproportionnée par ce problème. Et aussi, il était question de l'idéologie de suprématie blanche qui finalement imprègne toutes ces institutions aujourd'hui, non seulement aux États-Unis, mais à travers le monde. Et donc Cornel West nous disait que cette idéologie est basée sur un mensonge, mais un mensonge qui est bien et bien vivant parce qu'il a été institutionnalisé et donc il a imprégné toutes les facettes de la société. Donc je crois que ça résume à peu près.
Pour monsieur, ce qu'il avait dit avant son discours en général, et en gros, c'était qu'il vient de ce qu'il appelle les cités chocolat, les villes chocolat. C'est-à-dire il fait toujours une distinction entre les villes vanille et les villes chocolat. Les vanilles, c'est les blancs, les chocolats, c'est les noirs et les latinos, tous ceux qui sont colorés. Et donc, il dit qu'ils viennent de cette civilisation chocolat, où le blues et le jazz étaient très importants, ce qui fait qu'il se sent proche de ces populations-là, et que ces populations, c'est là qu'il a appris à s'exprimer, à exprimer un certain nombre de vérités. Je pense que c'est aussi... Tu as des compléments à donner? C'est en gros ce que je vous dis, mais j'avais pris d'autres notes quoi, pour l'église baptiste qui est assez importante chez lui aussi, et puis comment il est quelqu'un qui est dans son esprit, c'est un bluesman, et dans ses idées, un jazzman. Comment, dans l'esprit, il est imprégné par le blues, mais en même temps dans les idées, avec toutes les combinaisons qu'on peut voir dans le jazz. Voilà.
The question, that's the part that I can understand. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you, my brother. But you are absolutely right that what I say and do in my context reflects certain features of my context. And growing up in the American Empire, where raw violence has always been in our face. So you got 244 years of white supremacist slavery. That is torture institutionalized every day. That's in your face. So when you get lynching, every 2.5 days for 60 years, there was some black woman, man, or child hanging from some tree. And then Holiday sang about strange fruit, didn't she? Jewish brother Maripol wrote the lyrics. Strange fruit, black bodies swaying in the southern breeze. That's raw violence. For the last 10 years, every 28 hours, a black youth or brown youth is shot by the police. Not one policeman has gone to jail as a result of government pressure. That's another reason why I'm hard on Barack Obama. I love Barack Obama. I believe in revolutionary life. You got to keep track of every human being. But if you can't keep track of precious Jamal and Letitia, who are getting shot every 28 hours for 8 years, and you got a black president, a black attorney general, a black Homeland Security cabinet secretary, and not one policeman go to jail. That's a key sweat moment. Something just ain't right. I'm full of righteous indignation. I'm full of holy anger. I'm full of moral outrage. Why? Because it's wrong. And then we're going to have another investigation. Who's going to jail? After a fair trial. I don't believe in just picking up folk and taking them to jail. You got to have a fair trial. Now, everybody knows that if that were happening on the vanilla side of town, if that were happening among upper middle class white parents and their children, it'd be a whole different response. And in fact, and this is where the black question becomes, and the class question becomes, because if it were happening among upper middle class black youth, as opposed to poor black youth, you'd have different kind of black leadership. That's a serious challenge. See, me and Brother Watt, we come out of church and that says, you know what? That the brothers and sisters in Glen Elder, Ann Park, and Del Paso Heights have the same significance as those who are members of Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill is a group of upper middle class black youth. Because I don't believe in putting down anybody, but everybody got the same status. That's why I get in trouble on the Palestinian Israeli issue. You're going to kill 500 Palestinian babies in 51 days, and not one black politician, not one black leader, not one American leader say a mumbling word. Everybody knows if that were the case among precious Jewish brothers and sisters, there'd be moral outrage. There ought to be moral outrage when Jewish babies are killed. That's barbaric. But it's barbaric when Palestinian babies are killed too. And in the United States, other than a few of us, they don't want to say a word. How come? Well, then, this is where it comes to the issue of money, power, conformity, getting in trouble. Oh, Brother West, we appreciate what you're saying, but we can only say it in private. It's going to get me in trouble. I come from a tradition that says, wade in the water. God gonna trouble the water. That's where you find your empowerment. That's where you find your dignity in struggling in the midst of trouble, in the midst of catastrophe. Michael said, God has God's way in the storm. Marcus Garvey said what? look for me in the whirlwind when I come back and see how black people are doing after my death and the legacy that I tried to leave in the whirlwind, in the trouble, in the catastrophe, in the forms of death. That's where you find your empowerment. That's what jazz like. That's one big difference between the jazz band and the military band. Military band, the notes are flat. Everybody got the notes on the paper, and they know what it's going to sound like before they blow. And jazz is what? We don't know what we're going to do tonight. We don't know what it's going to sound like. We don't know what mood we in. Because of what? Because we're going to keep it funky. Because it's going to be tied to what Samuel Beckett called the mess. And the mess is what? Human strivings, doings, and sufferings in history, in time, in space. Our souls and souls in society. But you have to cut so radically against the grain to do that. That therefore talking about police accountability, police murder, police violence, and so forth. I'm blessed to work with a brother named Carl Dix, Revolutionary Communist Party. Bob Ovakian, head of the party, and so people say, oh, Brother West, you must be a communist. No, I'm not a communist at all. My mama's child and my daddy's kid. But I'm going to learn something from anybody and everybody who's concerned about empowering poor people. I don't care what color, sexual orientation, gender, and so forth. And therefore, this issue of talking about the police the way I do reflects a U.S. context. You're absolutely right. See, I don't know Paris. Now, I did teach in 1987, and I got taken to jail when I was here, too, because I was getting on the bus, and the bus driver was cussing out in French, a language I don't understand, but I knew something wasn't right. An Arab brother. So I intervened. And then they jumped on, oh, you in trouble, so forth and so on. So they just took us off jail for a few hours. And I said, oh, I see, yeah, France. All that secularism and universalism, French Republic. I said, oh, I see. The imperialism of the French Empire and its ties to white supremacy still operating when it comes to our precious Arab brothers and sisters, or Muslim brothers and sisters, or Asian brothers and sisters, or the Africans themselves, where the empire strikes back. We from Martinique and Guadeloupe, we show up in Paris. We strike back. This is the metropole for our formation, given your imperial legacy. We're going to walk the streets of Paris with dignity. Not with self-righteousness, with dignity and integrity. And connect with others who are struggling, whatever color they are, in the history of this nation, history of its empire. Did you want to say the first word on that, and then I'll say something? Okay, but I appreciate that question. I mean, one, I think...
Excuse me, 2 minutes. People are asking for a translation of the question.
Je peux le faire rapidement. Très vite, il y a un gros problème avec l'intellectualisme en Afrique. Depuis que nos pères ont été à l'université, depuis les années 60, ça va de mal en pis chez nous. Et en fait, on se demande à quoi servent tous les doctorats et les gros diplômes que tous les Africains ont. On n'arrête pas de s'entretuer. Et moi, je me demandais, au fait, s'il y a un parallélisme entre les Noirs américains et les Noirs africains dans notre défaite, dans notre faillite intellectuelle. Et je demandais aux deux grands frères, donc Sagna et Cornel, si ils voient des pistes pour qu'on s'en sorte, et s'il y a encore de l'espoir pour que tout ce qu'on a comme ressources en art, en musique, en sport, en ressources naturelles, on puisse arrêter peut-être de pleurer et se prendre en main et avancer.
Yes, thank you again, brother. That one, black intellectuals are not the cause of structures of domination. They can either be complicitous with it, they can rationalize it and give excuses for it, or they courageously resist it and provide some vision of a better world. Now, I do believe that there is a certain, many black intellectuals deserve condemnation, loving condemnation. But and I say loving because people can change. People can change their mind. They can shift and so forth and so on. Like Malcolm Little was a gangster, became one of the greatest black freedom fighters in the 20th century, Malcolm X, because Elijah loved him. And love will break fear. Love will break conformity. Love will break cowardliness. But I do think that we need to make sure black elites are accountable across the board. Be they leaders in Ethiopia right now, not treating our precious Oromo brothers and sisters right. Or the Tigray not treating the Amhara right, and so forth, even given the history of Amhara dominating, whatever. So that I do agree with you that we have to make sure accountability holds across the board, because when greed, unbridled ambition, narcissism, Donald Trump has no monopoly on unbridled ambition, narcissism, and lack of maturity. He's a good example of it, but he has no monopoly on it. Folk across the board can have that. And part of what I meant by black elites being peacocks, at least in the American empire, is in the United States, you see, careerism has eclipsed a sense of calling. There's a difference between what your calling is and what your career is. What your life task is as opposed to what your job is. Or what I've talked before about finding your voice. The anthem of black people is what? Lift every voice. It doesn't say lift every echo. Because the echo is to be a copy. And that's part of my challenge with the young folk. Luther Vandross is an original. Too many young folk want to be copies to make money. Just redo the same thing. Imitate what somebody else is doing. To get over. To make money. And then when you get to the top, you're obsessed with the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not get caught. Because folk just doing all kind of things in order to make more money, make more money, make more money. That's true in Africa too, in terms of too many leaders caught in the same thing. Millions of dollars that could go to the people, going to their own private pockets of banks and Switzerland and so forth and so on. Or even France itself. I appreciate it, absolutely. I don't keep track of that money the way I should, but some of us in France. Yeah, absolutely. But for me, the important thing is, see, I don't believe in optimism at all. Because a blues woman or a blues man is neither optimistic nor pessimistic. A blues man or woman is a prisoner of hope. One of the greatest geniuses produced in the American Empire was dropped out of school in 8th grade. He grew up in the west side of Chicago. His name was Curtis Mayfield. He wrote a song called Keep On Pushing.
Freddie's dead.
Superfly Freddie's dead. I'm so glad I got my own. So glad that I can see it. My life is a natural high, and a man can't put no thing on me. Now what Curtis is saying is, even hope is too abstract. That's powerful. He's saying it ain't a question of having hope, it's a question of being hope. Do people see in your life and what you do and what you say in your form of service a hope that impacts them at the deepest level? That's soul stirring. That ain't a discourse about hope. That's not a reflection on hope. That's not hope as some quality you apply to a self. It's a particular kind of self. Because they are who they are, they generate hope in your soul. That's like falling in love, ain't it? You fall in love with somebody and say, oh, I'd like to be a hope for you. No, we better get on down here with me. We're going to hopeify this situation right quick. We're going to concretize this thing. We're going to fleshify this thing. It's going to be so real and tangible, it's real as a heart attack. Isn't that right, brother? We've been talking about that in class.